On Tuesday, CNN asked Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff a simple question: how does the Iran war end? Steve Witkoff, the man whose job is specifically to find the diplomatic off-ramp, answered, "I don't know." Those 3 words are the most honest thing anyone in the Trump administration has said about this war. They are also the most alarming. 14 days in, thousands of bombs dropped, 16 merchant ships attacked, 8 seafarers dead, 7 American soldiers dead, 4 aircraft down, oil above $100, the Strait of Hormuz 90% closed, the largest oil supply disruption in recorded history, the most expensive American military operation since Iraq. And the man whose job is to end it diplomatically says, "I don't know." Here is the complete picture of why Trump is trapped in a war he cannot win quickly, cannot exit safely, cannot define clearly, and cannot hand off to anyone else. Let us be precise about the trap. There are 4 logical off-ramps from this war. Every one of them is blocked. Exit 1. Iran surrenders. Trump has demanded unconditional surrender. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said publicly, "Certainly we aren't seeking a ceasefire." Iran's IRGC said Iran will determine when the war ends. Iran's new supreme leader has not spoken publicly, but the IRGC has pledged complete loyalty to him. Iran has been here before. The Iran-Iraq war lasted 8 years and killed 1 million people. Unconditional surrender is not a realistic outcome of 2 weeks of bombing. Exit 2. America withdraws unilaterally. Trump told the Times of Israel the decision to end the war would be mutual with Netanyahu. He cannot pull out without Netanyahu's agreement. Netanyahu's defense minister said the operation will continue without any time limit as long as required. Even if Trump decides to pull out, according to Axios' sourcing, Iranian attacks on U.S. forces and Gulf states could continue, meaning America exits the air campaign, but not the casualty count. An American withdrawal without a ceasefire is not an exit. It is a retreat into ongoing fire. Exit 3. Negotiated ceasefire. Iran's Ministry of Intelligence reached out quietly to the CIA through another country's intelligence service, offering to discuss terms for ending the conflict. Trump initially signaled openness to talks. Then the outreach was reported publicly. Trump responded on social media, "It's too late." He reversed his openness to negotiations within hours of it becoming news, apparently because acknowledging Iranian diplomatic contact publicly was politically untenable. The ceasefire signal was extinguished the moment it was seen. Exit 4. Regime collapse. Trump cited Venezuela as the perfect scenario. Pressure produces a manageable political outcome. Leaders can be picked. The National Intelligence Council's classified assessment, produced before the war, said a large-scale assault is unlikely to oust Iran's entrenched establishment. Iran is 89 million people with parallel chains of command, an ideologically grounded security apparatus, and a regime that has survived sanctions, assassinations, protests, and 40 years of external pressure. Al Jazeera's analyst was precise. The military instrument has been authorized far beyond what the strategic objective can deliver. The U.S. can destroy Iran's hardware, but it cannot manufacture a political alternative from the air. 4 exits, all blocked. That is the trap. The Iran Ministry of Intelligence CIA back channel, reported by the New York Times from multiple officials briefed on the outreach, is the most consequential diplomatic development of the war so far. It deserves a full accounting. Iran's Ministry of Intelligence is separate from the IRGC. It is the civilian intelligence apparatus of the Iranian state, the entity that answers to President Pezeshkian, not to the IRGC hardliners, who have continued attacking Gulf states even after Pezeshkian publicly asked them to stop. The outreach came from the intelligence ministry. It landed at the CIA through a third country. It was an offer to discuss terms for ending the conflict. In Washington, the approach was being treated with caution, in part because Iran's leadership structure has been thrown into disarray by continued strikes, raising the basic question of who can actually commit Iran to any ceasefire. This is the practical impossibility underneath the diplomatic one. Even if both sides wanted to stop, the question of whether Pezeshkian's government or the IRGC speaks for Iran in a binding agreement is unanswered. There is a leadership rift inside Iran, visible in the fact that the president ordered the Gulf strikes halted and the IRGC continued them anyway. Israel's response to the back channel. Israeli officials urged Washington to disregard the overture entirely and continue pursuing maximum damage on Iran's military capabilities, potentially including the collapse of the government. Israel's goal and America's goal may no longer be identical. America wants Iran to stop fighting. Israel wants the regime to fall. Trump's response to the back channel. Reversed course and went harder. It's too late. He said it on social media. He repeated it to reporters. The ceasefire signal that Iran's intelligence ministry sent, which could have been the beginning of a negotiated off-ramp, was publicly rejected within hours of its existence becoming known. CNN's analysis of this moment is precise. Trump's trusty technique of sowing confusion to postpone reckonings is beginning to fail. In domestic politics, flooding the zone with contradictions works because the consequences are delayed. In wartime, with ships burning and soldiers dying and oil above $100, the reckoning arrived in real time. Trump has cited Venezuela repeatedly as the model for what he wants in Iran. Leaders can be picked. The regime softens. A manageable political outcome emerges. It is worth understanding why every expert who has studied both countries says the comparison is wrong in every dimension. Venezuela in 2019, population of 32 million, no functioning nuclear program, a military establishment that fractured under economic pressure, an opposition with a credible, internationally recognized leader, Juan Guaido, already inside the country with a functioning political network, a security apparatus that was demoralized and underfunded after years of economic collapse. Iran in 2026, population of 89 million, a nuclear program whose enriched uranium was moved before the strikes began and whose location is unknown, a military establishment, the IRGC, that is ideologically grounded and structured to survive decapitation by distributing authority downward, an opposition whose most prominent external figure, Reza Pahlavi, has not set foot inside Iran in decades and has no internal political network, a security apparatus flush with 40 years of revolutionary loyalty and Russian backing. The Venezuela model produced Nicolás Maduro still in power 5 years later. That outcome, the model Trump called perfect, is still in place. Venezuela did not produce a picked leadership. It produced a standoff. And Iran has none of Venezuela's vulnerabilities and all of its resilience, plus a nuclear stockpile somewhere and an asymmetric warfare capability that has now killed 7 Americans, struck 9 countries, closed the world's most critical oil waterway, and threatened California with drones. Iran also has a tool Venezuela never had: the Strait of Hormuz. As long as Iran controls the ability to close or threaten that waterway, it has leverage no amount of bombing can eliminate, because the lever is geography, not hardware. There is one option being discussed inside the White House that has not been publicly announced, and its existence, reported by CNN, reveals more about how trapped the administration feels than anything else in this story. CNN reported Monday that the White House is considering a complex and risky mission to retrieve Iran's highly enriched uranium, the stockpile that was moved before the strikes began and whose location is unknown. Let us be precise about what this means. The United States would need to identify the location of material that was hidden specifically to survive American strikes, material that American intelligence has been unable to locate for 2 weeks, then conduct a mission, presumably special operations, to retrieve it, inside a country of 89 million people that is currently at war with the United States, with an IRGC that has pledged total loyalty to a new supreme leader and has already demonstrated the ability to conduct precision strikes across 9 countries. The fact that this option is on the table is not evidence of confidence, it is evidence of desperation. The original justification for the war included eliminating Iran's nuclear threat. If the HEU is gone, moved, dispersed, or transferred to a third party, the nuclear rationale for the war is unfulfilled. The mission was the objective. The objective is unconfirmed, and the option being considered to close that gap is a special operations mission into a hostile nation of 89 million people during an active war. Seth Jones, former senior U.S. advisor in Afghanistan, told CNN, "I just don't think we are close to this being over." He drew the analogy to the no-fly zones that lasted years after the Gulf War, to the decade of ISIS campaigns in Iraq and Syria. Wars do not end when presidents say they are very complete, pretty much. They end when both sides accept an outcome. Neither side is there. The military and diplomatic trap has a political dimension that is now visible in every poll and every Republican strategist's private assessment. Trump told Americans the war would produce lower oil and gas prices. Gas is $3.54 and rising. He told Americans the war was very complete, pretty much. It is not. He told Americans it would be an excursion. It is 14 days old, 4 aircraft down, 7 dead, and no endgame defined. Financial Content's market analysis named it directly. The Trump Volatility Index is back. The president's ability to move markets with a single interview is not a sign of control. It is a sign of fragility, a market so uncertain about outcomes that a single presidential sentence about soon moves stocks and oil by double digits in hours. Axios reported this week that Iran wants international guarantees the conflict will not resume, not another temporary ceasefire, given that the previous Iran conflict less than a year ago produced exactly that. The bottom line Axios drew is unsparing, with no direct dialogue between Washington and Tehran, and with Trump hinting he wants Mojtaba Khamenei dead. Iran has little incentive to stand down. Iran has little incentive to stand down. That is where 14 days of war, $13 billion spent, 7 Americans dead, and 4,300 Iranians killed has left the administration. Not closer to an exit, not with a defined victory condition, not with a functioning diplomatic back channel, with a special envoy who says, "I don't know," when asked how it ends, a ceasefire approach reversed the moment it became public, an ally blocking negotiations, an adversary with geography as leverage, and a political base that is fracturing in real time. The confusion is not a strategy anymore. The reckoning is here.